Hey guys, so I just got off of not really just, but I got off of Instagram where I get like a lot of flack from, I guess, and I explained it that I like YouTube better because I feel like this audience is more my speed, I guess. Like we like to question things, we like to not really assume. That's what's really annoying is when people start assuming on me. I'm like, dude, you know how to assume, right? Because some of the stuff you say ain't that cool if you actually like look into what the intentions behind what another means. But today I wanted to go over how we, how I at least romanticize my past whenever I'm going through an exodus. God's trying to carry me out of something, such as like, I guess whenever I first met God, I was brought out. It was at on a mission trip. Of course, I had ulterior motives. I was on a mission trip with this guy that I really liked, and he was my next door neighbor. I had a big fat girl crush on him, and anyway, he ended up like beating me up one night, and I was like, oh, I guess this is right that he doesn't really like me in that sense, or at least like we never really got together in that sense because of that. But that still was a thing that I was attracted to, and I didn't know that then. But either way, God had pulled me from 2 years of meth use and like 10 years of alcoholism and drug addiction. So it was a big thing. But I know that like while he was pulling me out of it, I was somewhat resentful. I was like, I don't know what's next because he called me out of my father's house, which meant out of my comfort zone, where the only one thing that I knew, which was my father's house, which was actually pretty traumatic in itself. That my comfort zone was something really messed up because I had like a lot of neglect growing up and stuff, which is cool, but it's also like that's why he calls us out of that in order to face it, in order to overcome it. So after getting called out of the drugs, like the surrounding people, and it literally took me another 20 years, I want to say, until like actually recently that I realized that God had just been calling me out of this entire time. Oh my goodness. Ooh. But I went into, what is it? Genesis 19. And also I did like a lot of Exodus stuff too, because whenever I go into therapy sessions lately, my therapist is like, well, which part of you is speaking to you right now? Such as whenever that one woman, the last woman that wrecked into me, it was like I saw some monstrous stuff, like very demonic and whatnot. It was, I can hardly, like if I sit there and think about it, my heart will just like try to callous itself in order to protect itself. But my God, that was freaky stuff. And I knew it wasn't of the Lord, but that's neither here nor there. The thing is, angels arrived at the sun. Good morning, evening. Lot was sitting at the gate whenever he met these angels, right? And the gate means like the entryway. You're gonna choose this or you're gonna choose this. It's which one will you take and which one will open to you. So I feel like this two hemispheres of the brain could even be the gate. It's a doorway. It's a portal. Lot was sitting at this portal whenever the angels came up to him. And he was like, oh yeah, guys, just come on in here, take some food, take my daughters if you like. And so I was like, that's kind of weird. But either way, the story is that God was about to destroy, I guess this is Sodom and Gomorrah, where he's about to like destroy. And then he's even saying, don't do this wicked thing, take my daughters, I'll break right into my house. Like, I'll let you know. What up, Roberto? How you doing from Brazil? How's Brazil going for you? But Lot said to them, or well, like the angels are trying to like get him to go. Like, let's dip, baby, dip. Like, for real, we don't have any more time. Let's go. So Lot's still trying to like argue with him, but he's like trying to like find a different way out. Like, let me go to this other land that's nearby, and maybe we'll just hang out there for a little bit. And then, angel replied to them, very well, I'll grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town for you to speak of, but there flee quickly because you cannot do anything until you reach it. It's like God was going to wait for him to reach the town of Zoar. Then in verse 19 and 23, by the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen to the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah. And the thing is like, the Lord said, where was it? Oh, God was like telling him, like, don't look back. Thing is, don't look back, because whenever you do look back, you romanticize. Like, even whenever I was sitting in my little exodus of the drugs and stuff, I romanticized it. I was like, man, I felt love, I felt empowered, I felt embodied, I felt this weird shit that we're not really is. I was just feeling some weird stuff that wasn't true, is a thing, because I was on drugs. I was a young kid on drugs, and I was lost, and I was running away from myself, and that is wicked. That is a distortion of the truth. Until I was able to actually sit with God and like actually get to know Him as a woman that I am, because even then, like, I was like, I'm gonna be a boy when I grow up. I was one of those, and I feel like I feel for the children that are being force-fed this today, because I don't know what would have happened to me had I been born 10 years later, because holy crap. I was very adamant up until about 30, I want to say, about changing my sex. Thank God I didn't have enough money to do it, because, anyway, so 19 verse 14, Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the cities. But the sons-in-laws thought he was joking. So whenever someone's telling you some shit and you just think that they're joking, like, that's on you. If you don't take like seriousness to heart, that's the thing, is that we need to sit with God, like, to be able to differentiate what's really happening. Like, Lord, open their eyes, just as Elisha said with his servant. Open his eyes and let him see in the spirit, because we fight not against flesh and blood, but unseen powers and principalities of the darker realms. And I was talking on not YouTube, but Instagram. And not only do we not fight against, but World War III is right now. It's happening. It will not be televised. I spoke with my parents last night, and I don't really want to say they were distraught, but they apparently came to some realizations of what the lies that have been going on. And I know that the times are tough right now. Things are very strenuous for a lot of people, and that's the thing, is like, know where to look. I look within my heart, and like, for whatever reason, my heart lights up whenever I'm in this word, although I'm also realizing, like, with the other words, that the word just repeats itself. The source repeats itself. The heart repeats itself. The heart is just telling us to come home. Come home. Come home to sovereignty. Come home to purity. Come home to wholeness. Come home to warmth. Come home to comfort. Come home to love, because that's what we are all cut from. We're all cut from the same cloth, no matter where we are, no matter what we've done. Jesus died for our sins to let us know and remind us, hey, even though I know you feel like a failure, but Jesus died for our sins. He gave us the blood. He poured His blood out on us. God doesn't see our sins. He sees the blood. And that kind of just stops His wanting to attack, such as what happened with Lot and stuff. Either way, where was this? His sons-in-law thought he was joking. Verse 15, with the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you'll be swept away, and when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand in the hands of his wife and his 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city. And sometimes that's what angels and God will do to you, because I'm one of those that's like, hey, I need to know where I'm headed. You have to force me. Like, whenever I was with my ex, who used to beat me and cheat on me nonstop, I used to do like lots of drugs with him. That was what I was romanticizing. It's like, oh my gosh, he did love me. He gave me all those drugs, and he let me go to jail for him because he loved me. No. I was talking with God. God, I was like 17. I was like, God, if you're there, I need you to know I'm not strong enough to leave this person, because I'm very, very codependent because of all the neglect and abuse that I faced in my childhood. And that's okay, because my parents didn't know any better either. And that's what they knew. They raised me the best that they could, and I love them for that. That they had, the thing is, everybody does the best that they can with what they have, with what they know, and especially whenever it comes to love. And that's where I feel like God is just trying to call us back to coming back to love, to being yourself, to just sitting and knowing and being still and hearing, residing there, and sitting through the discomfort, because there's a lot of discomfort. Like I said, my mind just like wants to romanticize what happened in the past, and then I'll get to that later. Either way, the angels were telling Lot and his crew, don't look back. Do not look back. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, no matter what you think is going on behind you, don't look back. But then it says, down here, by the time Lot reached the Lord, the sun had risen, verse 23, verse 24, then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah, and the Lord out of heavens, 25, thus he overthrew the cities in the entire plain, destroying all the cities and all those living in the cities, and also the vegetation of the land. But Lot's, verse 26, but Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. I feel like that is because whenever, like, such as if I sat and like focused on that, was like, oh damn, I got taken away from this person who loved me dearly. I could have been turned bitter. And instead of that, I had to sit with the demons, I had to face the realities that, like, I am not where I want to be, but I know that you have to sit and know, be still and know that there is something better, that there is something more. And even in my singleness, like, yeah, I would love a husband, but at the same time, like, I don't want just any husband. I want a husband that is of me, that is cut for me, as I have been steadfast in doing my due diligence as the human being that I am in God's name and image. And that is what I ask God for too. And that is why he also says, don't settle. Our lives are gifts, even if they don't feel like it. Like, I'm literally coming out of just the longest, I want to say 2 years. Yeah, this is definitely 2 years. I've been with my body now for 2 years, within my body, because I went into sepsis where my hair had like literally fallen off. All those, like all these little short hairs, is because whenever I went bald, my hair fell out completely when I was in sepsis, or with where I was, whenever that was me looking back though, when I was becoming embittered, I turned back to alcohol is what it was. And I thought that was where I'd find an easy way to find a husband. No, the hell it wasn't. That was probably the hardest way to find a husband, because my light was dimmed there. If anything, they treated me like crap. They hated me. They were cursing me and all this stuff. At least the women were, and the men were like, oh, just keep staying. You're doing great. You'll find your husband, because they really liked me, which was cool. But they really didn't. They could only like me from a certain perspective, which was within, as much as they could, within the alcohol that they were drinking. Nothing personal. But let me get to Exodus. Exodus 2:23. Exodus 2:23. During the long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning, verse 24, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham and with Isaac and with Jacob, verse 25. So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. The fact that he was concerned about them tells me a lot, because that was exactly where I was sitting whenever I first met him. I was in my groaning because I was enslaved to, not manipulation, but enslaved to codependency. Like, I was not unable to move from this man that I knew he wasn't good for me. I was on drugs with him, and like, I knew that wasn't good for me, or like the future or anything like that. I thought that I knew a lot, but no, I didn't. And whenever I made my groan to be known to God, literally the next day, he is calling me when the police are breaking down his door and stuff. He's like, hey, I'm going to be going to prison for a long time because he just did this. It was a weird thing. He was a felon already, and he had like one more shot, and I was silly. It's okay. Thank you. That's what he does. Well, God is love, and if we are made of love. We are love. God loves you as well, Taurus. And then, so that means that God is concerned for us. He hears our cries. He hears our hearts. He knows our hearts, and he wants better for our hearts if we just let him have it. Let him take the pain away is what he wants to do. That's what Jesus came for, or that's the urgency to the call of our hearts, to center ourselves and sit and be still and know who God is. Whoever your God is, he is. And Exodus 3:9 says, and the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. Verse 10, so now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Israel and the Israelites out of Egypt. Verse 11, but Moses said to God, who am I? Which, yeah. And the thing is, God speaks to the answer. Moses was the Israelites' answer out of Egypt. The thing is, he speaks to the answer. That is something we need to sit and be still enough to know where our help derives from. It's by looking to the hills, right? Just to sit still and be steadfast with that until you hear the answer, because God is speaking to the answer at all times. He's trying to help you out at all times. And that's the thing, is like a lot of people get caught up in their impatience and stuff, and like with their physical reality, which it doesn't look like what they want it to at all. The thing is to know that God is still there. And verse 14. Yep. Anyway, well, God's answer to that was, he told Moses, I will be with you. And this will be the sign that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. That's what it was. So like, once you do this, then you will definitely worship on this mountain. Once you bring the people out. And what I'm learning in therapy, I know this might sound crazy, but like what I'm learning in therapy is like, whenever, like the woman who hit me with her motor scooter, like it was really messed up. I saw some crazy stuff, and there was obviously a spiritual attack there. The thing is, it was needed to be seen. It's so much better is the thing. It's so much better. I'm with myself. I got a cat. I got a place now that I'm paying for myself. Like I was paying for a house and his apartment and stuff, but it was just abuse and stuff. It's completely different. It's apples to oranges kind of thing. It's so much more different. I'm sober, so I have clear mind and clear mindset, and like I know where like my heart keeps wanting to turn back to every time that I want to, where I know where I'm empowered. And like that is within stillness, and usually whenever I'm focusing and zoning in on like the answers of like ancient texts or the Bible, which is the same thing, because the ancient texts are kind of just like, we're cyclical. We're not cyclical being. It's just whenever we're in fear, we kind of stop ourselves, and that's what causes the cycle to happen. Like you're going in love, right? This is love, and this is fear. You're going in love, and then boom, you hit a fear thing, and then you get kind of stuck there, and then that's what causes another cycle. But the thing is, if we just walk in love, it'll be perpetual growth, because if we're cut of love, we're cut from love, we're made from love. Love is the answer. If I feel like I hate people who used to say that as a thing. I don't hate the people that say that. It's just I didn't understand it then. But truly, that's what the whole Bible just says, is love God as yourself, love me as love. Love is the answer either way. But then also educating yourself is a thing too, of like knowing your origin, knowing where you're meant to be, knowing your calling, knowing where your comfort is, even because like I guess with the Israelites and stuff, whenever I'm just gonna read this. 14 verse 20. No, not 20. Okay. So, verse 10. This is whenever he was like following them through the thing. The thing is, whenever Moses left the Israel, or Pharaoh actually let the Israelites go, because he was like, you know what, screw this. Like they took my firstborn son. They gave me all these plagues. Like there's obviously something that's going on here. Let him go. And then Pharaoh in the midst realized that, oh my gosh, what did I do? I let my servants go. Like these people were my servants. They were serving me in such a way that I wasn't able to do myself. And that's what I realized with whenever an ex comes back to you. Sometimes it's not because they want you, it's because they want your service, is what they miss. Whatever you were giving them before you left is what they miss. Because this has been this has been a cycle with me. It's like every time that I leave a group of people, every time that I leave a relationship or I let a relationship go, they're always calling me back and like, oh, I miss you. No, the hell they don't. They miss what I was doing for them. Which it's hard to hear, but it's also like, oh, okay, so that ought to make another feel better about themselves, like stand firmer with knowing of what they have to give and what they have to share and who they can share it with, to be picky about who they share it with, to ensure that if somebody, whenever we do share something with someone, make sure that you share with the correct person by having the same goal, the same target, the same destiny as them. Okay, verse 10. Never mind, verse 14, verse 10. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. Verse 11, they said to Moses, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us here to the desert to die? What have you done by bringing us out of Egypt? Verse 12, didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians more than to die in the desert. Verse 13, well, the thing is, there's no writing that says that they had actually done that. They never said that is a thing. But then I also learned that whenever I first read Exodus, I kind of was angry with the Israelites. I was like, what the hell is going on with them? Like they literally just saw this amazing stuff and miraculous stuff. But with how I'm realizing how my therapy is actually benefiting so much lately is because I'm able to pinpoint which part of me, if we kind of take the Israelites to our own parts, there's firefighters, there's warriors, there's peacemakers, there's children, all of our archetypes, all the archetypes are within each one of us, correct? And the thing that we're headed to is the archetype that we serve, because where attention goes, energy flows, correct? So, whenever, with the woman hitting me recently, I was borderlining resentment because I was angry that this crap keeps happening every time that I try to come back to God, which ought to tell me something. Now I'm listening to it. I guess I used to listen to it a lot. I used to actually be running with it, but I was low energy. By the end of it, I was low energy. My Bible had fallen apart, and I just received this Bible too. So I was like, you know what, we're got a new Bible. We're going to go ahead and this way. Verse 13, Moses answered the people, don't be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today will never be seen again. Verse 14, the Lord will fight for you. You only need you be still. And if the only thing that we need to do is be still, and just be still, know that God is fighting for us at all times. Know that it's already taken care of. It's not even fighting for us, it's already taken care of. The decision's already been made. We've already won the war, no matter what war we think that we're in. We as beings, as a collective, every one of us has won. And that's what I just realized while I was on Instagram, is that it doesn't matter where your allegiance lies. Because wherever you choose where you want to go, and especially with this Bible, like even Jesus said, you choose. It's free will. You choose where you want to go. Where is your heart? Where is your joy? And that's the thing of studying, is to know where you are going and to know where you're heading to. I can be all I am actually, I am very peace and love. I'm serenity and giving and sharing. But I'm still not quite sure about war and stuff. I feel like, war is very definitive, and also like looking back into where the money goes with wars. Because I saw a thing on Instagram earlier today that talked about how the I want to say Israelites and Muslims were fighting about the inheritance is what it was. So it's money. Money is what causes wars, and money is what is made during wars, and that's fucked up. I got a better phrase. And the thing about history, of like your history, because I know that my history, I wouldn't do to me the way that God has done me is a thing with my past. And I know that we all have a past. I know that we all have had thoughts before. I know that we've all had feelings before. We've all had to fight things before. We've all had demons to fight before. And that's the scary part. If we don't know who saved us from those thoughts, if we keep going back to those thoughts, then that isn't a deliverance. That is still entrapment and enslavement. But like he who has been set free is free indeed. And that just means to know, be still. He's never leaving you. Like even with Joseph in the prison and stuff like that, it wasn't leaving. He was burning things out. Like because I'm coming out of my prison. As a thing, I'm coming out of like just such loneliness and anxiety and fear of other people. I wasn't able to speak even. I had no idea what I was doing. But that doesn't matter because God's working in the background either way, no matter whether you feel him or not. Like I said, I'm going to be going to my tree because that's where I know God is there. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and read the Declaration of Non-Consent because the thing about doing what's pressing your heart, like yesterday I had it pressing my heart to skip while I was in the park. I was like, that would be really fucking weird if I started skipping in a park because there's like parents and their children and stuff. And I got in my head about it, and like the head and the heart are usually at war with one another over who's gonna win. And the head and the heart and the past, once you have a past, like we'll all be at war and not odds with each other over who's gonna win. And the thing is to keep your eyes focused on the hills where your help comes from. To trust and to know, to be in stillness, just like it's asked of you. Because like my past is really, really dark, and if I just sit there and think about it, then I would be turned to salt. I could become totally bitter. And the thing is to let God purify you, cut all the extra stuff off. And right now is Virgo season. This is the perfect time to do it, to allow God to just cut and prune. And as painful as it is, and just to sit and be still and know that you're taken care of. And I actually did the Declaration of Non-Consent earlier. Maybe I should. I was going to do it. Name it Samantha Norton. Okay. I was just told by my muscle testing that I don't need to do a Declaration of Non-Consent, so I'm going to go ahead and just dip. But thank y'all very much for joining me. Y'all have a wonderful day. Much love, one love. Remember, God is with you at all times.